With time, I've realized that a lot of simple classic recipes over the years get extremely complicated. A penne arrabbiata is one such classic example. So today, let's see how I make it my style, but keeping the basic essence in place. Hey guys, this is the Bombay chef Varun Inamdar and welcome to Get Curried. A penne arrabbiata is a classic Italian recipe that uses tomatoes, chilies and garlic. But before that, let's begin with blanching the pasta. In this case, the penne pasta. The water needs to be boiling. And what is also imperative is to add enough salt. Give it a stir and allow this to cook for 7 to 8 minutes. However, it's wise to check the timing on the packet. While the pasta is cooking, let's cut some vegetables. In this case, some capsicum. While I'm using the yellow and red capsicum, you can choose the variety of your choice. Once this is done, the most critical ingredient, and that is garlic. Just bash it up lightly and chop it finely. Once this is done, let's quickly check the pasta. Give it a quick few stirs and make sure they don't stick to each other. With this, I'll also cut some chicken breast. Give it one nice horizontal cut and cut the chicken into strips. The vegetables and chicken are cut and ready. Our pasta is also cooked and done. Let's drain this. To this, I'll add in a little bit of oil so that the pasta doesn't stick to each other. Our basic prep is ready. Let's now move on to making the sauce. For this, I'll heat a pan to which I'll add in some olive oil. Once the oil heats up, I'll add in the garlic. A quick stir and I'll add in the chicken strips. Once the chicken strips are partially cooked, I'll slide in the capsicum. And along with this, some salt, a mixture of freshly crushed chili flakes and black pepper. Give this a stir and allow the chicken to cook. To this, I'll also add in some fresh basil leaves, fresh tomato puree. To make fresh tomato puree, you need tomatoes which are blanched. Remove the skin, remove the seed, run it into a fine puree and mix it up with some fresh tomato juice. Allow this to simmer and cook for 7 to 8 minutes till the sauce thickens up. The sauce has reduced and thickened. Time to add in the smoked paprika. And along with this, the blanched penne pasta. Give this a toss. A little water in which we had cooked the pasta. This water already has some starch and that will help in thickening the sauce further. Give this a good mix and allow this to cook for 30 to 40 seconds more. And finally, just before turning the flame off, a little bit of Parmesan cheese. And just before it goes on the dinner table, a little more of chili flakes and black pepper, followed by some basil leaves, a little bit of olive oil, finally, a little bit of Parmesan cheese. With this, your penne arrabbiata is ready. Do try it at home and wait for what next the Bombay chef gets into your kitchen.
I make really good macaroni and cheese, and you know that I'm not lying about that because this is the first thing that my boyfriend asked me to cook for him. So I've really mastered it by now. And like all good mac and cheese, it starts with a really good roux, and for me the perfect proportion is 3 tablespoons of butter, and this will melt very quickly. It's at room temperature already. And you know, I learned this the hard way, that you should always measure out your ingredients when you're making bechamel and this roux in particular. And I'm adding the flour and just quickly Stir this together. You want these lumps to go off. 3 tablespoons of butter and 3 tablespoons of flour. Perfect proportion, works each time. And now you want to add the milk. Now this is slightly warm milk, and add it only slowly in batches and just keep whisking it in. Okay, so you want to have a look at this now. You can see that there are no lumps at all. It started to thicken, and I'm going to add more milk. So all of the milk is in the pan and it's thickening slightly. So this is just the right time to add a little bit of flavor to this bechamel. I like adding it at this stage. So add a bit of salt, not too much because we're going to add cheese later. Some garlic powder. Get a good amount of pepper. And now a few dashes of Tabasco. Okay, so you can see that it's beautifully thickened and absolutely ready now. So I'm quickly going to stir in the cheese. I've got cheddar here and mozzarella. And just whisk it in. And I've got the pasta ready here. Now the pasta, when I boiled it, I've just undercooked it slightly because I'm going to cook it further in the oven for about 20 minutes. I'm going to mix it with this bechamel. It's gorgeous. There's just no other words for it. It's just gorgeous. Comfort food at its best. So now, I'm going to get it into my baking dish. I'm moving very quickly here because I've got my oven preheating to 180 degrees Celsius. And now I've got these breadcrumbs here. I'm just going to add a little bit of dried parsley just for a bit of flavor. Just give that a bit of a mix. And I'm just going to quickly top it. And once this comes out of the oven, the breadcrumbs would have crisped up. We're going to have layers of textures by the time this is done. Okay, so now I'm going to quickly pop this into the oven and see you in 20 minutes. So I might have come up with this recipe for my boyfriend, but guess what? He's not here today. So I'm going to eat this all on my own. So I've just about let this cool down and I'm going to tuck into it because it's best enjoyed warm. You guys subscribe to our channel because we have loads of more recipes that are just as awesome as this one. Share this one with your friends and come back here for more such recipes. See ya! I'm waiting for you to cut.
Imagine a scenario where you come back home tired and you still have to rustle up a meal for yourself. I'm sure you would love to turn to one-pot recipes. Today, let me show you my version of a one-pot chicken pasta. Hey guys, this is the Bombay chef Varun Inamdar and welcome to Get Curried. First things first, let's heat a deep pan on moderate flame and add in some olive oil. While that's heating up, I'll bash up garlic and this goes straight in the still warm oil. With this, I'll also add in some peeled shallots. You could also use diced onions if you don't have these. While the oil is still heating up, let's dice a few mushrooms. Well, I'm using portobello mushrooms. You could also use button mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, or the mushrooms that are available near you. Time to throw these in the pot. A quick stir and time to season this now, so that each ingredient gets nicely flavored. Some pepper. While this continues to saute, I'll add in some strips of chicken breast. Well, this is boneless. Give this a nice stir and make sure the chicken is partially cooked. Season the chicken lightly again with some salt and pepper. You could also spike this up with a little bit of chili flakes. We need to stir fry this on high flame and make sure it gets seared a little. The stir frying could take anywhere between 2 to 3 minutes on high flame. Once that's done, I'll add in a dollop of butter. And with this, refined flour. The refined flour in this case is one of the basic ingredients of a bechamel or a white sauce. Make sure this cooks well on high flame for a minute or so. If you see now, it has nicely coated the pieces of chicken and mushrooms. At this stage, I would introduce in cold milk. Make sure the milk is nice and cold, otherwise you'll see lumps in the sauce. I'll add in 2 cups of water. And if you've noticed, I'm cooking the sauce, the chicken and the pasta all together. Ideally, when you look at pasta recipes, the sauce is cooked separately, the chicken and the toppings are cooked separately, and the pasta again separately. And again, you drain all the water. In this case, we're going to use an absorption method and make sure it's a one-pot chicken pasta. At this stage, I'll introduce in the pasta. Well, I'm using the dried fusilli. You could also use other shapes or any pasta that's available with you. Just make sure the cooking time is monitored as per the instructions on the packet. Give it a stir and make sure this cooks for 6 to 7 minutes. It's been 7 minutes. Let's give this a stir and check for salt. Well, a little seasoning there. Just a touch of salt and a little bit of black pepper. Time to add in the leaves of spinach and along with this, some cherry tomatoes. While I have used some spinach and mushrooms, you could use the vegetables of your choice. Give this one last stir and off goes the flame. Time to grate in some cheese. One last mix before this goes on the platter. And now, let's begin to serve. And finally, a touch of extra virgin olive oil and black pepper. So whether you come back home late from work or you have some leisurely time at hand, do give this recipe a try and wait for what next the Bombay chef gets into your kitchen.
Today I'm going to make my Friday go-to meal before I go out for the weekend, if you know what I mean. So this is penne pasta cooked in a lovely chicken and mushroom creamy sauce. Great to line your stomach if you've got a weekend of drinking. So over here I've got a pan with some water. I'm going to get that ready to boil. Well, it is going to be boiling soon. So while I'm waiting for my water to boil, I'm going to get on with the sauce. So hobs on, I'm going to put a bit of oil in here. And this is just regular olive oil. So into that I'm going to put about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. Now really this dish I only make, you know, when I've got nothing left in the fridge and I think, oh, what have I got in there? Usually I'll have some chicken, I'll have a bit of garlic kicking about and some pasta. So this is kind of, you know, a quick go-to meal before I start my Friday night. So my water's boiling. Keep an eye on your garlic, make sure it doesn't burn. I put a bit of salt in there, season that. I've got a packet of penne pasta. So I'm just going to put a bit of pasta in there, about half a packet. Cook the pasta according to the instructions. Now my garlic is almost browning, we don't want to brown too much. Add in 1 chopped onion and now cook that. All we want to do is we want the onion to soften. The onions have softened. Now I'm using some dried thyme. You can use fresh, but the reason I'm using dried It's because it's got a stronger flavour. It's a bit more pungent. And also I'm using some dried mixed Italian herbs. Got about half a teaspoon in there also. Give that a nice little stir. And a bit of black pepper. Now I like a fiery hit from the pepper, so I'm going to add a little bit extra. Season with a little bit of salt. You can always add later and stir. It's a really simple, quick meal to throw together. Even if you've got guests coming and it's a last minute thing, easy to chuck together. I've got half a kilo of chicken here, boneless thigh, in that goes. And now cook the chicken until it's halfway or 3/4 way cooked. And we should take about 7 minutes. Now it's just a little waiting game. Just keep an eye on your pasta. You don't want that to get too overcooked and then it turns to mush. Right, my pasta's had its 8 minutes. So I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to go and quickly drain it. Okay, right, I've drained my pasta, but I've left a little bit of the water that the pasta was cooking in the pan. It'll just help make some sauce and also prevent the pasta from getting all cloggy. All right, my chicken is looking amazing. Now into that, I'm gonna add some mushrooms. I've got a packet of mushrooms, just kicking about in my fridge. Pop those in. So it's looking a little dry at the moment, but don't worry about it because the mushrooms will release a lot of liquid. This pasta is a really nice creamy pasta as well. And my younger brother, Singh, hi Singh, he loves creamy pasta, so this one's for you, bro. You will really like this because you're always telling me, oh sis, will you make some creamy pasta? Here you go, you can make it yourself at home. So I've added some of the pasta water that this was boiling in to my pot here, just to prevent it from clogging, and also that little residual water will go back in there and make a nicer sauce. When my chicken is done, I've tasted for seasoning, it's delicious, but obviously before you add the cream, check the seasoning because then you can adjust. Now for the cream. You thought you were going to get away with fat-free. Not on this show, darlings. In we go. So don't add all the cream at once. Add it a little bit at a time, because if you pour it all in, you may have too much cream and you think, oh, it's a bit of a creamy mess. We don't want that now, do we? Right, this is done. Now, if you find that the cream is getting a little thick, don't worry, don't panic, don't go for the cream and add more because it will be a disaster. Add your pasta. Remember the water is there. We kept a little bit back, remember? That will help thin this out. So we are now ready to add my pasta. In it goes. So for you healthy people out there, and I'm sure there are a few, if you don't want to add any cream, skip that point and just add the pasta straight in once your chicken is done. It'll still be really yummy, but I think the cream just makes it even better. Cover and stir. And the secret to good pasta is do not let it fall out of the pan. Turn the gas off once the pasta's in and just let it sit there for a couple of minutes so the pasta can go in and just go absorb all that flavour. A couple of minutes, that's all. I'm going to add some parsley, a bit of greenage, just a rough chop. Quick stir. Oh, yummy. And that's it, guys. Ready to serve. And there you go, guys, my quick and easy pasta supper. Quick for a Friday night before you head out with your mates, if you know what I mean. Chicken with mushrooms and penne pasta and a little bit of cream. Do enjoy. So guys, don't forget to like and share our videos. Please do subscribe to Get Curried.
One of my go-to pasta recipes is the creamy mushroom. I usually make it with different kinds of pasta, but today we are gonna make it using spaghetti. So let's get started with making our creamy mushroom spaghetti. So first we have to boil some water for our spaghetti. Here I've taken 1.5 liters of water, and to this I'll be adding around 2 teaspoons of salt. So while this water is boiling, I've already set another pot for the mushrooms. The water for the spaghetti has started boiling. Now we need to add the spaghetti in. So while our spaghetti is getting ready, let's move on to the other pot, which is for the mushrooms. I'm going to add the mushrooms in the boiling water and let them be for around a minute or so. We basically do this to get rid of any bacteria in the mushrooms. Our mushrooms are done. Our spaghetti is done. Turn the gas off and carefully lift the bowl and strain the spaghetti. Once the spaghetti is drained out of all the water, place it over another bowl and pour cold water over it. This is done to prevent further cooking of the spaghetti. Set the spaghetti aside. We'll be saving some of the pasta water for our sauce. The starch in the pasta water brings out more flavor in the pasta, and that is exactly why we'll be using it in our sauce. So once the spaghetti has been doused with cold water, we'll be adding in a little oil. Just toss it. Now we'll set it aside. Let's start with making our sauce. For that, I've taken a frying pan and I'll set it on medium heat. Be adding around a tablespoon of butter to it. Next, I'll be adding in chopped garlic cloves. I've taken around 7 to 8. Let's mix this. The garlic has started browning. We'll add in the onions. And we'll saute it. While the onions are getting sauteed, we'll chop the mushrooms. I'm going to slice them up. Now we'll be adding the mushrooms to the frying pan and we'll saute them. Now we'll be adding in salt and pepper. And again stir it. After a couple of minutes, add in the garlic powder. I've taken around a teaspoon. Again mix it. After a couple of minutes, turn the gas off and keep this aside to cool down. So while our mushrooms and onions are cooling down, we'll start with sauteing the other vegetables. For that, let's heat up a frying pan on medium heat and add some butter to it. Once the butter melts, we'll be adding in the vegetables. I've taken a few carrots, some French beans and some baby corn. Now we'll be adding salt to this. Our vegetables are now ready. Turn the gas off and keep them aside to cool down. Here I've taken around 100 grams of shredded chicken. To this I'll be adding in salt, some garlic powder and some black pepper. Let's mix this. Once the chicken pieces are coated with the garlic powder, keep it aside and we'll start making the mushroom paste. I'll be taking half of this mixture and putting it in a grinder. I'll be adding a little milk to this. It will help the mixture to grind easily. Our paste is nicely done. We'll now move on to assembling the spaghetti. Add some butter and let it melt. Now I'll be adding in 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour or maida. To this, we'll be adding the mushroom paste. Next, we add the milk. Keep on stirring the sauce to avoid any lumps. To this, we'll be adding a little of the pasta water that we had saved and mix. To this, we'll be adding cheese cubes. I've taken a mix of cheddar and mozzarella. You can use any cheese of your choice. Now we'll be adding the vegetables and the chicken to the sauce. And we'll mix it. If you want a thinner sauce, add in the remainder of your pasta water and let it simmer for 2 minutes. Our 2 minutes are done and the sauce is ready, and we'll add in our spaghetti. Our creamy mushroom spaghetti is ready. Now let's plate it. Do try this recipe for one of your weekend meals and let us know in the comment section below. For such amazing and creamy recipes, stay tuned to Get Curried.